Our Story Production presents The Road to Our Story, spotlighting an in-depth look at many of The Road to Our Story magazine's featured articles. So get ready, for you're about to travel on The Road to Our Story.
Hi, I'm Jason Howland, and welcome to Speaking of Health, a place to help you learn how to live a longer and healthier life. You know, so many of us enjoy getting outside and taking in that wonderful summer sun. But if you don't take proper precautions to protect yourself, you could be putting yourself at risk for skin cancer. Joining us today is Dr. Melanie Dixon. She is a family physician at Mayo Clinic Health System who focuses in skin care. Dr. Dixon, thank you for joining us on Speaking of Health.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Well, today we are talking about skin cancer and sun protection. First of all, how common of a problem is skin cancer?
It's a very common problem, and it's very important to have this conversation. There are 3.5 million cancers diagnosed annually and 2 million patients every year. 1 in 5 Americans will develop cancer in their lifetime. It's the most common form of cancer. If you look at breast, prostate, lung, and colon cancer, there are more skin cancers than all of those combined.
That's pretty amazing too, you know, because when people think of cancer, often they probably do think of a breast cancer or a lung cancer, something like that. Right. They don't think of skin cancer, but it is the most common cancer. That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. So
what exactly is skin cancer?
Skin cancer, and really all cancers, are abnormal cell growths. When the skin is exposed to ultraviolet damage, it goes to the cellular level, it goes to the DNA, and when there's DNA damage, that can cause abnormal growth.
So are there certain types of skin cancer?
There are. There are 3 most common types, the more common types: basal cell skin cancer, squamous cell skin cancer, and then the deadliest form, melanoma.
So of those 3 types, which is the most common?
Basal cell skin cancer is by far the most common. In the United States, every year there are approximately 2.8 million cancers, basal cell skin cancers, diagnosed every year. That type of cancer begins in the basal cell of the epidermis, which is the top layer of our skin. And as with other forms of skin cancer, it's related to ultraviolet exposure, sun damage. That sun damage goes to the cells of that layer and damages the DNA. Basal cell skin cancer often looks like a small, flesh-colored, waxy little bump. And another word to describe it is pearly. They often look like little pearls. They can look different than that, though that's one of the more common manifestations.
And what about the second type of skin cancer that you talked about?
The second most common type of skin cancer is squamous cell carcinoma. That is also caused by sun exposure most often, though not always. It can also occur not just on sun-exposed areas, but also on areas not exposed, such as the mouth or genital tract. That one, it has a variety of appearances to it when it starts, but really pay attention to non-healing, red, scaly, rough, ulcerated, bleeding, tender, sometimes just white patches, anything that looks different. Squamous cell has a variety of appearances, but look for red, scaly spots. And
then lastly, melanomas. What are melanomas? And are they different from the first 2 that you talked about?
Yes, melanoma is, it only accounts for 5% of all skin cancers. However, it's the riskiest kind. It's the deadliest form. It accounts for most of the skin cancer-related deaths in the United States. So it's the most important one to talk about, I think, today. It's a cancer that arises in the skin, of course, in the epidermis, and the melanocytes are the types of cells in your skin that create melanin. That's the pigment in your skin. That's where the melanoma arises.
Like the other 2 forms of skin cancer, are melanomas also caused by UV radiation?
Yes, absolutely. Over the years, we have more and more evidence that they are definitely related to ultraviolet radiation, both sun, out of doors, and indoors with tanning bed exposure. And this is really key because here's an astounding statistic. 1 person in the United States dies of melanoma every hour. very important to pay attention to. So yes, ultraviolet radiation is an important factor. We also have to think about other factors with melanoma. It is more complex. There are other pathways involved. Genetics is also a very important factor, family history, and the type of skin you have. The more fair, light skin, more likely to burn, freckles, that type of skin is definitely more risky, more of a risk factor for melanoma.
Are skin cancers more prevalent in older generations, or can young people also get skin cancer?
Very good question. It's more likely the older you get. However, the incidence in younger adults, including adolescents, it's increasing. And we think that's most likely due to the ultraviolet exposure that people are getting, especially the teens. The most common cancer of young adults, age 25 to 29, and second most common type of cancer in age 15 to 29.
You mentioned sunburns. I think everyone in their lifetime at some point is going to get sunburned. Are you at more risk for skin cancer the more you get sunburned?
Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing to talk about today. Sunburns are very risky. We know that if you have 5 or more sunburns in your lifetime, that more than doubles your risk. If you have a sunburn in childhood or adolescence, just in that period, that also, just one will double your risk as well. So very important to prevent sunburns, especially in your children.
Well, let's switch gears here a little bit and talk about moles, because a lot of people probably associate skin cancer with moles. Is that the case?
Not always. Melanoma can and does often arise from a mole or from around a mole, but it can also start on normal skin as well.
So what's the difference between a normal mole and a melanoma?
Normal moles are very common. It's normal to have 10 to even 45 moles. That's very normal. The big thing with moles is they look uniform. They have just one color generally, maybe two, but they look nice and uniform. Nice sharp edges. They're small. They're less than a pencil eraser in size, and generally a symmetric appearance to them.
So what is an unusual looking mole?
An unusual mole, we go by the ABCDEs of moles and melanoma, for melanoma. A, asymmetry, so if it's different on either side, that's something to pay attention to. B is border, scalloped, irregular, notched borders, that's more concerning. C is color. If there are multiple colors in a mole, so if you look at it and see a dark brown and a light brown, possibly a gray, blue, or red, that's more concerning. To have multiple colors, or a really dark color is more concerning as well. And then, of course, any colors that are changing is the other part of C. D is diameter. If it's bigger than a pencil eraser, that's something to pay attention to. And then E is evolving, things that are changing over time.
Are there other signs of irregularity when it comes to moles besides the ABCDE?
Yeah, one of my favorite things to talk about with patients is the ugly duckling sign. It's just an easy thing to remember. If you look at your body and you see something that just doesn't look like the rest of your moles, that's a really important thing to pay attention to. It's important to tell your friends, your spouse, help them look for that ugly duckling sign.
So are all melanomas, are they easy to spot and on the areas of your skin that's exposed to the sun?
Great question. Generally, melanomas are on sun-exposed areas of the body. Again, going back to the sunburn and getting that intense, occasional sun exposure is more risky for melanoma. So face, neck, back, backs of legs for women, for example. However, melanomas can occur anywhere, so it's important to look at other parts of your body, such as mouth. Have your eye doctor look at the back of your eyes. Pay attention to changes under your nails. Have your doctor at your routine physical get a good head-to-toe look.
Well, you talked about exposure to UV radiation as being a primary risk factor for melanomas. Are there some other risk factors as well besides just exposure to the sun?
In addition to that, genetics plays a large role. So if you have a family history of melanoma, make sure you have a good skin check at least once a year, more if you have a lot of moles or atypical moles. The other thing that plays a role, again, the type of skin you have, the lighter skin, more fair skin, freckles, that also plays a role. If you you have a suppressed immune system, if you're on medication that would suppress your immune system, for example, you have to watch your skin even more carefully in that situation. The more moles you have, the more you have to pay attention as well. Sunburns, as we mentioned, and then folks that live closer to the equator are definitely more of a risk of sunburn as they have more intense ultraviolet exposure, but you can get melanoma anywhere. In fact, Minnesota has the 4th highest incidence of melanoma in the United States.
Wow. Well, what about tanning lamps? You know, a lot of people may think if I'm tanning indoors, if I'm in a tanning bed or tanning salon, I'm not out on the beach laying in the sun, that I'm not harming my skin because I'm not getting the sun's rays. But that's not true, right?
We know that the incidence of melanoma when you've used a tanning bed is much higher. If you've just used it one time in your life, that increases your risk by 20%. That's huge. Each time you use a tanning salon, on top of that, it increases another 2%. Another very important statistic with that, if you use the tanning salon under the age of 35, that increases your risk of melanoma by 75%. That's huge.
So what should a person do if they notice something unusual with their skin or perhaps with a mole? What should they do?
See your primary care provider and have them take a good close look. A lot of times it'll be reassuring, but it may lead to a biopsy, which is okay. That's taking a little piece of the skin and then looking under the microscope to see if it is cancer.
And if it is cancer, so what's next? What's the next step?
It's different for different types of skin cancer, but generally excision or a minor surgical procedure to remove the skin cancer is all you need. Especially for squamous cell and basal cell. There are a few other options for those as well. For melanoma, this is really important. Detecting it early is key because in that situation, if it's early, a thin melanoma, a surgical procedure to remove the melanoma is usually all you need. It gets more tricky when the melanoma has spread. Then we look at other treatments, including chemotherapy with more biologic therapies or targeted therapies.
What are some things people can do to prevent skin cancer?
Pay attention to those ultraviolet rays, both indoors and outdoors, of course. Wear your sunscreen. I think an easy thing for folks is just to put a sunscreen on every day. I like to tell my patients, even in January here in Minnesota, put a good face lotion that has an SPF 15 or higher every morning. Get your face, neck, chest, back of your hands. Beyond that, if you're out of doors, you want to make sure that you're using your SPF 30 or higher and reapplying every 2 hours. The most intense sun is between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So if you can avoid those hours, that's ideal. So I try to tell my golfers to try to get the morning tea time, for example. But of course, they still need sunscreen even in the morning. When you're using your sunscreen, you want to make sure you apply it liberally. So a lot of people do not quite use enough. You want to use about a golf ball size amount on your whole body. Here's a really, I think, important fact for how much sunscreen you should use. Let's say you have a family of 4 and you're going on a beach vacation. Your family should, in 2 days, use 1 bottle of sunscreen. Most families just use 1.5 bottles a year.
I've heard of broad spectrum sunscreen. What is that, and is that something you should be using?
Absolutely it is, and that's a new regulation from the FDA over the past 2 years now. We used to have just SPF, as we all know about, and again, 15 at least is important for SPF. Now we look at broad spectrum, and that helps cover all of the rays, so the UVA plus the UVB, which are both known to cause skin cancer.
So Dr. Dixon, what about clothing? Is there certain clothing you should wear to protect yourself from the sun?
Yep. In addition to sunscreen, protecting with clothing is very important. Wide brim hats. A lot of people have baseball hats or visors. Doesn't quite cut it. You want to protect the back of your neck and more broad coverage with a wide brim hat. There's some good ones in local sports shops or online you can purchase.
I will have to say I'm the biggest culprit when it comes to that. I wear a baseball cap all the time in the summer, and the ears, it's really rough on the ears and the back of the neck like you talked about. So.
Very good point. We do see a lot of skin cancers on the tops of ears in men. In addition to wide brim hats, sunglasses are very important all year round. UV radiation can cause cataracts, for example. So wearing your sunglasses, very important. Long sleeve clothing when you're out in the garden or doing your yard work, as much as you can. Wear your long sleeve shirts, helps protect from the sun.
Well, unfortunately, we're all out of time, but a great topic for these summer months as we begin summer. I'd like to thank our guest today, Dr. Melanie Dixon, for joining us today on Speaking of Health. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Have a great day, everyone, and be healthy.
There you have it, folks. One of the favorite stories ripped from the pages of The Road to Our Story magazine. Let's have a look at another.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Women of Sweet Swine County, where we share what's happening inside and outside Sweet Swine County. Today with me is our co-host, Paris.
I'm back. Did you miss me?
Where were you?
I was on assignment for Cousin John.
Assignment for Cousin John? He
Yes.
really sent you somewhere?
Yes, I was traveling outside
Wow.
Sweet Swine County in search of entrepreneurs throughout our story country.
Entrepreneurs?
Yes, I was with Ronnie P. Silage, and we were discovering
That's news to me.
entrepreneurs, people who have incredible businesses, and they're successful. I mean, true entrepreneurs.
Hey, wait a minute. Did you say Ronnie P. Silage?
Yes.
Did you know that Ronnie P. Silage is developing a show called The Ronnie Stinker Show? Can you believe it?
The Ronnie Stinger.
Oh, I thought it was Stinker.
Stinger.
Because he's kind of a, okay, got it.
The Ronnie Stinger Show.
And he is also field reporter for Almost Breaking News
Yes.
for KLUK TV. And did you know, of course, he is poet
Yes.
laureate for Purdue
poet.
University right here in Sweet Swine County. I don't get it, Paris. Is he trying to take over my network? Giddy up. You know, I don't know if I can take this anymore.
Well, first,
What's going on?
First, it's not your network. I know that you have all these shows and things, and
I
and
kind
you're-
of single-handedly run the place.
You didn't even get the memo about me being gone. But anyway, just Ronnie is not trying to take over, so you can relax, take a deep breath. He is not trying to take over. What we are trying to do,
Good.
Ronnie and I,
good.
we are trying to show everyone out in Sweet Swine County and beyond, all of our viewers, that there are people out there who are living the dream.
That's really exciting. And it would be so interesting to have a show about entrepreneurs.
It is
Do you think
very
I could
interesting.
help? That I could do some of the interviewing? Because I know a lot about entrepreneurs. Hello.
Well, maybe. We have the most awesome guest
That's
today.
what I heard.
Yeah.
I can't wait to meet him.
I can't wait for you to meet him either. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the county of Mitchell, from the town of Osage, Iowa, please help me welcome Eric Sparrow. So, who are you and where are you from again?
My name is Eric Sparrow. I'm president of Milk House Candle Company. Our business is located in Osage, Iowa, in Mitchell County, Iowa, which is in the north central part of the state.
Tell us about Osage.
Very good. Very good, Paris. Osage is a small community with a lot of community pride. It's a population of about 4,000 people. Fantastic Main Street. Great
We
people.
do.
You know
We
what's
like
better
Main
than
Street.
great people?
What?
Nothing.
Nothing.
And Osage is filled with great
Nothing.
people.
Awesome.
We love it there.
That is
Oh,
profound.
good.
Very profound. But let's get to the candles. They look beautiful.
Thank you.
What's in them?
Our candles are made with a soy and beeswax blend. We don't use any artificial dyes, and so you'll see that all of our candles here are white in color.
Yeah,
I like that.
I like that
And-
too.
I do too.
Goes
Of course.
with everything.
It does, and with the Milk House name, what better than
Absolutely.
an
I know, that is
old-fashioned
my- I
milk
think that
bottle,
is
an
my
old-fashioned
favorite.
milk bottle holder. We've basically developed our candle. It all started as a hobby that my wife and I had years ago of just making candles. And we just wanted to make a better candle, And we realized that artificial dyes are not good to be burning in your house.
True.
And so we thought, well, okay, let's do this without artificial dyes. Can we use a natural wax? Well, soy wax makes a great, clean, burning candle, and infusing with beeswax makes it even better.
Did you do the designing of what you put the wax into? Because this is very interesting. It's so
Yeah.
different than anything else that I've seen, because normally all the candle jars are always the same, and this is very unique.
It is. It's like
Thank you.
stuff you can use or that you have
Yeah.
used. It's like you
Exactly.
recycle.
Either one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the message of what we're doing and what we want to portray as we produce our products is that we want people to use a renewable product in soy wax. It's not your standard paraffin wax, which essentially paraffin is a byproduct of oil production, and it contains 11 carcinogens that can kill you. Soy wax does not.
Oh, wow.
So when you burn a soy wax candle, I guess the easiest way to explain it is it doesn't give you the soot on your ceiling
All over
that
the
a
house,
paraffin
yeah.
candle will
Oh,
give you.
I know. Cleaner burning.
Much cleaner burning. And of course, by infusing that with beeswax, it becomes even better. This
Now
line-
with beeswax would burn much slower, doesn't it? So
Yes,
you're-
it has a higher
So you have a
melting
longer
temperature.
life, a candle life,
Exactly.
like saying compared to 20 hours, that would maybe burn 35 hours
This
instead of.
this jar actually burns 100 hours.
Oh, wow,
wow.
that's a
16
lot
ounce jar.
longer. Yep.
And that's with 2 wicks, which means it makes it a whole
Oh, wow.
house candle.
Wow,
Yes,
that
you
little
can.
jar, Eric, that's very
Cosmopolitan.
interesting. I like the way it's sealed up.
This is actually brand new for us. This is called the wet canning jar. This is actually
Oh,
goes
cool.
back to early 1900s. And in Germany, a company by the name of Wet came out with a canning jar. And this is it.
Oh,
This is
that's
actually
cool.
Weck's canning jar.
Oh, wow.
And it's huge in the culinary world today. When this jar, of course, when the candle is gone, so you're buying 2 things.
Tomato?
There's
sorry.
basically 2 things in
Oh,
one when you buy
wow.
this candle.
That's amazing.
You get the candle, of course. When the candle is
I've
gone,
never smelled a tomato candle.
The canning.
Do you
get
like
the
that?
little
Yeah,
canning.
I do. It's
Isn't that great?
amazing. Yeah.
it's just a very natural
Wow. It is clean,
tomato leaf
very clean.
fragrance.
Very clean. Yep.
So when the candle's gone, you get the little canning jar.
When the candle's gone, you have the canning jar. And
Oh my
the
God,
objective
that
for
sounds
us
awesome.
is we don't want people to say, okay, the candle's gone, we're going to throw the
Throw it
jar
out?
away. Or even recycling has to be hauled away and reprocessed. What better way than if this can just simply be reused in the house? And so we've really created, that's really what we've worked on, is creating containers that are going to, of course, they're candle initially, but they're
Yeah.
not going to fill a landfill later. There's something that's going to be reused in the house.
See? Lots of recycling in one little.
Yeah, wonderful.
And you have a great example
I
I
next
was
to here,
going to
Karen.
say,
Here.
I know. Yeah.
If I can show this one here.
Yes.
This one's a
I've
lemon
smelled
cheesecake
it.
candle. Now, inside this candle, there's 6 wicks. This thing will fill your home with fabulous
Lots of
lemon
scent.
cheesecake fragrance.
Oh my gosh. And
Of course, wood lid engraved. But with this candle
it's a recipe.
comes a recipe.
Yum, yum.
A recipe specific to this container so that when the candle is gone,
Oh
the
my
wax
gosh,
is a
heavy.
clean burning soy and beeswax.
Lemon cheesecake bread. That sounds amazing.
Rinse it out with hot soapy water, and you can bake in that dish. We've actually baked the
Oh,
lemon
yum.
cheesecake recipe
Smell
that is
that.
on that card right here in this card.
Oh, let me smell this.
So you take a smell
That's
of that.
absolutely
Oh my gosh,
wonderful.
You may
so
want to
true.
eat it, and it's okay to eat it. We just baked that
Smells
fresh
just like
today.
lemon cheesecake. Yeah, have a bite, Paris.
I'm having some.
Oh, this is exciting.
This
I'm
is
anxious to see
exciting.
what
Exciting.
Paris
It's the
thinks.
first time,
So, Eric, who's your target audience?
and I'm a very big dessert person.
95% of candle buyers are women. Now, we've changed that a little bit because by not having color in our jars, we've made it
Oh
a
my God,
real,
that's good.
real easy gift for men to buy for their ladies on the way home from wherever
taking the
because
meds.
they don't need to worry about matching color with a room.
Okay, this is lemon cheesecake, and obviously that is the food. Do the smells, the scents, I'm sorry, match the container? Like you have the heirloom tomato in the little canning jar, you had the
Correct.
latte in
Correct.
the latte in the mug.
Oh, I know something that everybody would want to know. How many
is really
scents do you have?
Presently,
wow.
good question. Presently, we have
Very good
51 fragrances.
51 fragrances.
Oh, wow.
We're always changing them. We're
Do you-
primarily a wholesaler. We wholesale to
Okay.
stores who sell our products.
And are you all over the United States? Strictly in the Midwest?
We are all over the United States. We've kind of built our business organically. We haven't really gone out and advertised big time or anything like that. But we do some wholesale markets, and we have grown. We're now all the way across this country. We have accounts in
Wow.
Canada, Mexico, in London.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
essentially, I guess we're an international company now. From
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Are you
awesome.
still?
And
Do you still
just
pour the
outside-
candles yourself, or do you have
We
employees?
have 14 employees on staff. So it
Oh,
started
wow.
off that my wife Janet and I were doing this in our kitchen, and as we grew this, what started as a hobby became now friends of ours were buying our experiments, so to speak,
Oh,
as we
cool.
perfected our recipe. And from that, we're able to reinvest in creating a better candle because initially we thought, oh, it's wax, it's wick, it's
Yeah,
fragrance.
exactly.
How hard can that be, right?
But there's more
But we
of a
realized
science. There's more of a science
much more to
to
the
it.
science,
See?
particularly with the soy wax,
Yeah.
because it's a natural wax made
my
with
gosh.
natural products. The soy wax that we use here is actually soybeans that are grown right here
I was
in
gonna
Sweet
say,
Swine County.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Are they available
And
in
other
Sweet
surrounding.
Swine County? I
Yeah,
haven't seen them
that's
in
what I
Sweet Swine
wanted.
County yet.
You know, you'd have to check our website to see. We have a store locator that would locate on our website. That
And
would,
just put in Sweet Swine County and then it would let
if
us
you
know.
put in
Okay.
Sweet Swine County or put in your zip code specifically,
Well, I
it will
want to
tell
get
you
these
what
at the
stores in
Giddy
your
Up
area are
Boutique.
carrying them.
Hello.
I want to get these in my house.
And then if there aren't any stores in your area, well then of course you need,
Yeah.
then you need to tell
Well,
the stores in your
yeah.
area that they should be carrying them because it's a great
And
product.
yeah.
An agricultural product, supports farmers, and it's just a much cleaner burning candle. The beeswax, as a matter of fact, and I don't think we touched on that, beeswax itself actually is a natural ionizer. It emits negative ions when it
I didn't
burns.
realize that.
Mother Nature's only natural ionizer.
So
Wow.
it'll keep your air in the room.
Correct.
More
Yes.
pure.
Pure.
Scientifically speaking, there's positive ions just floating around
Yeah,
carrying
and the
germs
negatives in
and
it.
dust particles, etc. The beeswax emits negative, which connect and make one neutral ion, which drops to the floor. So scientific research has proven that by burning beeswax in your home and vacuuming twice a week, you just have much fresher, cleaner air.
Oh, wow.
Wow, you don't need an
So-
expensive air purifier. Just
You
one of your
don't. You
candles.
just need a candle.
See, yep. Just
And bonus,
get a
it
milk
smells
house
good, too, while
candle.
It
you're
does. It smells
Yeah,
awesome.
and it smells good.
Oh my
Your air's
God.
getting clean.
And I don't know if I mentioned this, but I brought a candle for each of you. You'll be glad to know. And a
One
bonus
for the studio
surprise.
audience, I bet.
I've got one for each of the members of your audience.
So lucky today. You're so generous, you two. Yay.
Awesome. So I know that you said that you're online. So obviously you ship any and everywhere. I mean,
We
you
do.
ship to London. They'll ship to Sweet Swine.
So we would have to get a hold of a store locator, though, right? You don't do any retail out of your. Do you do out of
We
your
do
business?
retail. We do retail off of our website.
Okay.
And the reason how we ended up there was because we always just wanted to stick with wholesale. But we would
okay.
get basically customers essentially say, "Hey, I was vacationing in Sweet Swine County and I bought this candle, but they don't have them in Florida, and I really want more of these candles. How do I
Right,
get them?" So
right.
instead of telling that customer, "Hey, gee, I'm sorry you can't have any," we put the retail website up to say, we don't want to compete with the stores that are carrying our products. So
That
we
makes
try
sense.
and make sure that the customers know where the store is
So you
nearest
point them to the
first.
store first. If there isn't one, then
If there isn't one, then
Okay,
they can
that's
happily
good.
click away and order what they want off the website. I mean, they're candles. You want to put your nose in them anyway.
And literally,
smell
you
them.
do.
Yeah, you do. You
So
wanna see this.
with all of, do you have a degree in candle making?
Well, that's a great
Yeah.
question. My degree is really from the School of Hard Knocks.
Ah.
We've
The best way.
we
That's
just
right.
keep trying and we try and we try and we try and we just
testing
continually
it
try
out
to perfect it. And I would say that it's safe to say that we've perfected the candle blend
Yeah.
for now because we're always working on it. And
I've never seen a tomato.
tomato was one where we thought, people love the natural aspects of our candles, and they love the natural, true fragrances of our candles. So let's take a look at one that's not so sweet. Let's take one that's more of a natural gardening
Yeah,
type fragrance,
I
and
like
let's hit spot on. What does that fragrance smell like? And let's take it to the market and see what they think. We've had such a great response to this heirloom tomato. It's been
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's awesome. You know what, Paris? If I wasn't so busy, I would be begging Eric to work for him, wouldn't you? I mean, this sounds like such an interesting, amazing place to work. Do people beg to work for you? I bet they do.
You have 14
Well, that's a great
people.
question. And,
You have 14
how
people.
how do you answer that? Thanks.
I have
That's-
no idea.
But I have to tell you, from our humble beginnings as a hobby, my wife Janet and I were making these candles in our own kitchen, to now 14 employees. We're by no means a big company. But I have to tell you, as I said, the people in Osage are great people, and our family are fantastic people. And so we've really, as we've built this business, we've really dug deep within and said, what talents do we have around us that we could use? And so my mother plays a big role in this. My father is a photographer. He does some great things for us. We've got other relatives that help us out all the time,
So
including
did Dad take these pictures then?
my dad does all the imaging.
Yay,
for us.
Dad.
Yes.
Wow.
And my mother does all the recipes for us. She's
Wow.
actually she's won a lot of cooking contests. She's a
Oh,
very
wow.
good chef. But we've got
He's very
the
good.
people
Very
in
interesting,
Osage
yeah.
are fantastic. The gals that we've brought in,
Wow.
all of them are just willing to work hard. They really enjoy their jobs, and that's very important to us. That's why we can have
You
such
have-
a great
you have
product
employees
because the
that
people
rock.
that make it
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
what they
Well,
do.
and you seem to love what you do, which
Yeah,
like
and
you said,
it has to spill over to everybody there.
I mean,
Yep.
you have to be a great boss. You said you and your wife. I'm assuming she is the same as you. I mean, you have to be.
She's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, she's a woman. Of course she is, right?
Sorry, guys, but we really do have to wrap it up this time.
Ah.
And remember, everybody, we share small town stories with big town attitude, for we are the women and Eric of Sweet Swine County. Bye-bye for now.